financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
More and more Republicans are speaking out about Wednesday's attack on the U.S. Capitol. Florida Senator Marco Rubio among the critics.
It's disgusting. It's unpatriotic. It runs counter to everything we stand for. It's unfortunate that there are, I can't give you an assessment of every single person that went in there, but it's clear now by the arrests that are being made and what groups are saying online that QAnon people were involved, this ridiculous conspiracy. Then you've got, white supremacists in there. You've got members of the Proud Boys. So it's a rogues gallery of groups.
Rubio on Sunday Morning Futures. Last week's riot at the U.S. Capitol has prompted at least one European government to beef up parliamentary security. More from Fox's Paul Stevens.
Security for Germany's lower house of parliament has now been increased after the storming of the Capitol in Washington last week. The weekly German newspaper Bild am Sonntag saying that Bundestag President Wolfgang Schäuble confirmed to lawmakers that Berlin State Police had, quote, arranged for a reinforcement of their forces around the Reichstag building. Germany's parliament building has seen its own fair share of demonstrations in the past few years, with protesters against coronavirus restrictions storming the steps in August, with some waving a far-right flag. Paul Stevens, Fox News.
Some hospital workers in Colorado are among those being honored for their work during the pandemic.
Vail Health Hospital got its incident command up and running quickly. Kimberly Flynn, a safety...
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way.
You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey.
Who do you think you are?
Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this hospital.
No, I have work today.
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait on account. Now. Wait a minute.
Whoa. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Turning to health news, doctors at Johns Hopkins Medical School have discovered that bones are the coolest part of the body. The 10-year study found that although the body has many cool things in it, nothing is cooler than your skeleton.
Just think about it. You have this soft, fleshy body, but inside of it, there's a second, tinier body that's made out of a super hard rock. Our data is conclusive. Bones are very, very cool.
To conduct the study, researchers examined every single body part and determined how cool or uncool it was.
We initially thought the brain might be the coolest part because it's like a computer that runs on food. But when we looked at it up close, it was all gross and wrinkled. Brains are not cool. Bones are cool.
Doctors discovered that there are big, strong bones like baseball bats in your arms and legs, hand bones that look like a monster claw, and skull bones that make a scary face. Doctors did caution that as cool as human bones are, they're not nearly as cool as dinosaur bones.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Great googly moogly, everybody.
Great googly moogly.
Unga bunga, ungawa, etc. and so on. I often thought about doing a pair. Captain Kick-Ass and Son. Right, yeah, exactly.
What would you use instead of a club?
Bitcoin. I don't know. Yeah, something. The magic wand.
The righteous stick of the state.
Yes. If you're wondering,
truth.
if you're wondering, listeners, this is Free Talk Live. It's the live Sunday night edition. Sunday. Our telephone number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160.
Who still uses telephones?
I saw a payphone the other day. I was like, what ancient sorcery is this?
Superman needs someplace to change.
We have an interesting show tonight. The lead topic for tonight, folks have been calling in a lot, of course. We're a call-in talk show, so that's what they do. And I've noticed sort of a trend, and that's folks are looking for solutions, right? There'll be people calling, yeah, the government's bad and the state's bad and they do all these bad things. But what are the solutions? And so, generally speaking, nobody really knows.
Well, I've
got several. There's a lot of really good ideas out there that need to be put into practice. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of stuff that is happening that, can be a solution, but there's no magic bullet that's going to end the state.
Community.
Right? Well, okay, if you want to paint in broad strokes, sure. But I found a guy doing a thing, and it's a solution to some of these small businesses that are having trouble, and we will talk about that. We also have on deck, Amazon has booted Parler off of its web hosting servers. That's interesting because we know Google and Apple both booted Parler out of the stores, the Play Store and the Apple Store. We've also got...
Thou shalt not compete.
Right. We've also got the most memorable acts of civil disobedience. We've got ways government couldn't have handled the COVID-19 pandemic any worse. We've got a proposed bill that would ban body armor. We've got... we already talked about that. We've got somebody who's trying to sell 2 different bars for Bitcoin specifically. He wants to be the first guy to sell his 2 businesses for Bitcoin. We can talk about that. And this from the left coast out of King 5 News in Seattle, Washington. The flu is gone.
Of course it is.
Mysteriously.
What an amazing coincidence.
Well, it's inexplainable. Where did it go? Well, you'll laugh when we get to this article because it is almost, that's the tone that it has. We don't know what happened. It's a mystery of epidemiology, So we can talk about that as well.
Coronavirus cured the flu.
It seems
there's not enough people talking about the positive side of the coronavirus.
Right.
If the flu vaccine gives you coronavirus, then getting the flu obviously cures it. I see.
Ooh. And what about the common cold? Where did that go? Does anybody have the cold anymore?
Yeah, I mean, get the sniffles maybe a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know. I didn't know anything about this guy before I read this article from, it's actually newsbusters.org. Dave Portnoy's Barstool Fund, this says, raises over $6.6 million for small businesses. This was published actually on December 26th, so around Christmas time.
Okay. I was going to say, the latest I heard was over 20 million.
It's 22 million, as of yesterday or something like that. It's starting to get some real money put into it. Athletes from the Government Football League, the National Football League, are throwing money into this thing because they're like, hey, look, the government isn't doing anything to help these people out. I bumped into this article because, I do still watch the sports ball. I know that seems to be a taboo thing amongst the libertarian types, but, in the absence of government, sports ball still exists.
I'm waiting for the XFL to come back next year.
I would prefer, more of these things and more competition, of course. But I do jokingly refer to the NFL as the Government Football League, the same way I refer to national parks as government parks, because if you just take the word national out, replace it with government, it becomes far more accurate.
The people's parks.
But at any rate, this popped up through one of the sports feeds that, I subscribe to. And I was like, wait, what? It's doing what? It's got how much and what's it doing? So here is a solution. This guy, Dave Portnoy, he's some sort of YouTube guy. He's got a blog and a podcast, and, he's got some sort of notoriety. Apparently, he's made some money in his life. But he founded Barstool Sports, and I don't know exactly what that entity does, but this article says he exemplified the Christmas spirit by raising millions of dollars to help small businesses suffering under the state-imposed lockdowns. The Barstool Fund has amassed a whopping $6 million, and we know it's over $20 million today, $22 million, I believe, as of yesterday, and a whole bunch of supporters. The funds have already helped 19 small businesses. That number has escalated. I didn't count them, but it's well over 40 in my estimation. Portnoy hammered the lockdowns for destroying the livelihoods of business owners with no relief. He specifically called out New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and his recent arbitrary shutdown on indoor dining. as Portnoy summarized, how do you expect these people to survive? How are restaurants going to survive? They're already on their last legs, and you're pulling the plug on them, and nobody seems to care in the government.
Duh.
Yeah.
That seems
the government doesn't care about the middle class?
Right.
No.
Or the small business person.
Or anybody but the government.
Right.
For that matter.
Now, as a not only a fan of things like the National Football League or the Government Football League, also having been a musician, bars are very near and dear to me. I've spent a lot of time in bars, even before I was, quote, old enough, unquote, to drink. I was going to bars because I was an early bloomer. I could grow a mustache, and I looked older than I actually was, and I rarely got carded, if ever. So I have spent a lot of time in bars. They're very near and dear to me. I've met a lot of people, developed some great relationships. I had some good times. I had some times I don't remember, of course. But
how do you know?
It's been one of the major staples of entertainment. So this type of thing is near and dear to me. Now, this time of year happens to be when these sports bars generally do pretty well because there's some like playoff things going on in the Government Football League and that type of thing. So this should be their busy season. But instead, they're busy being closed or, having 25% of their capacity or, this type of a thing. And the one criteria that Portnoy put on this stuff is that in order for your business to qualify, you must have not turned off your payroll and laid off your employees. So in other words, yeah. So he's doing that. There's got to be a filter mechanism, right? They're not raising enough money to help all of the businesses.
I get it, but a lot of places were forced to close down. Yes. And what do? You can't keep paying people if you got no income.
Right. So, I sympathize with those businesses who have found themselves in that position. But at the same time, if you haven't, if you've had the money to get by thus far and you haven't fired all of your employees, kudos to you, first of all, for not just, letting your employees go because you can't pay them anymore, but keeping them on the payroll. There's lots of businesses out there that are closed and still paying their people because they care about their people. I know, wow, a business cares about its people far more than the government
Or they
does.
have the ability, right? What about the businesses that closed because they did not have the ability?
Yeah.
Those that need it the most don't meet the criteria.
Well, so there is plenty of room for other aspiring people who want to do something to take on the left out people. Right, to start something similar to this Barstool Fund for those businesses. And what I'm saying is this is a solution that has appeared, and there is plenty of room for other solutions, either similar.
And this is exactly the sort of thing that we need to be doing to replace the good things, quote unquote, that the government does to justify their existence.
Many people falsely believe that the government acts as a charity organization when it does not.
And these are exactly the ways that we can individually and as businesses act in ways that we can take over the parts that we actually rely on government for, so that the parts that we don't rely on them for, taxation, bombing people, can go away.
Agreed. And I really like that it's an individual who himself is tired of the government's response or lack of response, and the fact that the government created this quandary for these businesses to be in and have provided no relief or no plan forward for these businesses to reopen. 603-283-6160. More coming up.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. D-I-V-I Project.org.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160.
Rolls right off the tongue.
It's got a certain ring to it. That's a phone joke. It's got a ring to it. If you already knew the number, then you have something called mental telephony. That's right. That's right. Tech jokes here on Free Talk Live. That's right. It is Free Talk Live. This is the Sunday night edition. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me, it's
Peakless Mountaineer and Richie Rich.
And we've been talking about this article from Newsbusters, actually from December of last year, but this has grown into something. It was a guy, Dave Portnoy. He decided to set up a way to help small businesses who are struggling, specifically bars and restaurants is what his target was, but they've helped far more than those. If you go to the website, which I'll tell you about here in a little bit, you can see that they've helped, clothing stores and, other small businesses that are not, bars, for example. That just happens to be where most of his fan base lies.
And I will say that those are the ones that were the first to open regardless of the rules around them.
Yeah. So we'll talk more about that in just a bit. But first, Let's go to Tom calling from Hudson, New Hampshire. Tom, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, speaking of tech jokes, I get some different jokes now. The one about, that angry mob that stormed in on Congress last week, that those people should get the death penalty because they committed a capital offense. Get it? A capital offense?
Capital
Funny,
offense.
Huh? Yeah, it's a riot. Yeah. Now, anyway, the other thing hilarious is that most members of Congress vote to appropriate money for drug enforcement, not just the DEA and all of them, but also the state and local revenue sharing, how they have federal grants to help them enforce drug laws. And now they know what it's like when their place gets raided by armed intruders.
Government doesn't like it when the no-knock raid is conducted on them, do they?
Oh, no.
It's weird that they call it the People's House
pretty much
after
of their
the
own
fact,
medicine.
right?
I'm sorry, Richie Rich, go ahead.
Oh, I said it's weird that they called it the People's House after the fact, right? Like, it belongs to the people.
Didn't we demonstrate that it did not?
But
and
when
in
the people
fact,
tried to
if
go
you
in-
start going into your house the wrong way, you get shot in the neck.
Yeah.
Don't climb in through the window of a barricaded
I will
door.
climb into my house the way I want to, thank you, sir.
They keep showing the one guy who fell as he was trying to scale the wall. It's he's like a joke now apparently because he fell. Yeah. Anyway, Tom, anything else?
No, just one. The irony of how they're whining like crybabies because their place gets raided, and the jokes, the puns there about it's a riot, and
we didn't even get the
capital
chance to
offense.
shoot their dog.
Yeah, right. Well, thanks for the call tonight, Tom. We appreciate it. Yeah, they certainly don't like it when it's done to them at all, ever. And this doesn't mean just the thing that happened at D.C. I don't like people calling it an attack, right?
Sure.
Because, first of all, everybody was unarmed, except for one guy, right, apparently. And he was obviously an employee, not one of the protesters.
They infiltrated the building and stayed within the velvet ropes.
Yes, they were very courteous invaders.
It's bizarre.
Yeah,
It was a
weird.
very adult way to just raid into a place.
So I will say I'm going to throw out this quote because I think it applies.
All right.
Right. When the people fear the government, there's tyranny.
Oh, yeah.
When the government fears the people, there is liberty. And regardless of how you feel about the invaders' affiliation, right? What I've maintained in the past is that those people who choose to rule over us must have some fear that there are repercussions for their actions. And I think that they got a little taste of that with the Capitol invasion.
Yeah, and
they are not untouchable anymore.
I certainly agree with that part. The one thing that I think folks should take away is look at how easy it was, right, to sort of take over this kind of a place. Right now, previously on season whatever of America, season 2019, when the left tried it, they were greeted with men with guns and all that kind of thing. And men with guns were there too this time. But it is a nice reminder that there are far fewer of them than there are of us.
Right.
Far fewer.
And I gotta say, anyone who's tried to get anything done in politics, like the slightest little thing, getting a stop sign moved, I mean, it is a quagmire of endless trouble. So trying to work through their system versus no, just show up.
Yeah.
Hey, knock it off. So we don't like it.
Need we point out things that government has failed at? I don't know. Is there safe drinking water in Flint, Michigan yet?
No. One more quote that I want to point out as well, as long as we're on the Capitol thing, is we must all hang together or surely we will all hang separately. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't a lot of violence at the Capitol as far as deaths are concerned.
Yeah.
Right. There was, relatively peaceful invasion, peaceful protest or whatever. But all the famous people got picked up in their home state within days. So if you're going to have this mass collective action to, express your rage, it has to be sustainable in some form or fashion. Otherwise, you're going to get picked up separately, away from the mob, away from the crowd, away from your community, and you're going to hang alone.
And let's contrast the speed with which they've been arresting folks who were there with the speed with which they've been arresting folks who are, associated with Jeffrey Epstein. Weird that like people can be arrested the day after something like this, but when it comes to people associated with
wrong podium.
with a pedophile, we're taking our sweet time.
Well, I mean, he was an intelligence asset, so we can't
intelligent
really
assets. What?
Well, association doesn't imply that you were complicit in a crime. Whereas this is clear evidence.
Did I say they were?
Well, why would you arrest someone not complicit in a crime?
Well, I wouldn't.
Like if Bill Gates Bill Gates has got a photo of him like with Jeffrey Epstein.
I'm just saying, man,
if a dude's
seems incredibly fast.
If a dude's running a pedophile ring and you are multiple times on his airline, maybe we should question you.
Maybe. But being on his airline is not a crime. It doesn't make you complicit in a crime.
Well, whose house is this?
The other thing I'd like to point out, since you brought it up, was the sheer hubris of these politicians who were there, right, cowering in fear, whatever they were doing, right?
Oh, that was a beautiful picture.
For them to, after the fact, come out and speak out against the, quote, violence, unquote, that was committed at the Capitol when all of these MFers are complicit in some of the most heinous violence ever known to man.
Well, again, that's what I'm saying. They have to know that their lives are on the line for the decisions they make. That has to be on the table at some point. And I think as peaceful as the Capitol demonstration was, it's a good visual for you are no longer untouchable if you get out of line.
And as I've said, I don't think we've reached peak dumb yet. I think it's going to get worse. Everybody's all, thank God 2020 is over. I think
10 more days.
I think 2021 is going to be like, hold my beer.
Watch this.
603-283-6160. Stay right where you are. We got more coming up.
So when we brought him home, we didn't realize that Bear, the rescue dog, was actually sick. He had very flaky skin. He was dropping a lot of fur, and Levette wanted to do steroid injections, special dog food. Nothing seemed to work, so I was at a dead end.
DINOVITE.com.
I've been hearing Dinovite on the radio for years. It never actually crossed my mind to try it until it finally sunk in. Oh, you're talking about hair and skin. And, all right, I'll try it. Well, it took probably 6 weeks, but after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch, and he started to put weight on.
Dinovite is nutrition.
I wish that we would have started the Dinovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days.
DINOVITE.com.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means, stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to MyMagicMud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. MyMagicMud.com, FTL20.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Live video of our Keene, New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
Klaatu Verata Niktu.
I knew it was an N-word. Nickel. Necktie.
Yes, there, I've said the magic words. I've said them. Now I'll just take the book. And now you can send me home like in the deal. Yes, quotes from The Evil Dead here on Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. Our telephone number is 603-283-6160. Again, our telephone number is 603-283-6160. If you're wondering why I'm saying telephone in such a weird way, it's because I'm trying to break myself of saying toll-free number, which we no longer have. So our telephone number is 603-283-6160.
Can you still call it a call-in line?
I can, but it's having the two words starting with the T, right? It's it's just a way of breaking a habit is all. So, yeah, you don't need to know any of that, nor do you, listeners. So, thanks for listening. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me, it's
Bakeless Mountaineer
and Richie Rich.
And we've been talking about a charity thing called the Barstool Fund to help save some of these small businesses that desperately need the financial help in order to survive until ? As government has provided no way out. We also talked a little bit about
just another 2 weeks.
Right. We also talked a little bit about the, I don't know what to call it. People call it the attack on Congress.
The insurrection.
The insurrection of DC. And it's like a bunch of people hung out at the Capitol.
Well, okay.
A bunch of unarmed people hung out at the Capitol. And somebody got shot.
That's minimizing it a little bit. Like, they definitely did more than hung out.
I don't have a better, attack on the Capitol is a little too much, because I had 2 live streams going on. I've been to protests here in New Hampshire, and it was basically people just hanging out. People were like, even outside or on the balconies and stuff. They're like, oh, hey, Bob, good to see you. I haven't seen you since back in whatever,
I don't want to see. Now you're going to make me sound like I'm defending the police side of things.
Are you defending the police side of things?
I'm not. However, when you're
it sure sounds like
it.
But when you're pushing through a police barricade, you're doing a little more than just hanging out. Let's be fair.
Yeah, but I mean, have you ever been to a concert that got out of hand?
Okay.
I mean,
if I'm in the mosh pit, I'm not hanging out at the concert, man.
I mean, I think that less happened at the Capitol than happens at your average mosh pit. Now, unfortunately, I haven't seen a good mosh pit since, it's probably going to be a while until I've seen one, but because the government put the kibosh on live performances, so mosh pits don't occur. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a whole bunch of metalheads. In fact, there was a metalhead at the whatever this is, the insurrection.
I like the word
DC.
insurrection.
He is I believe,
I
the
think that's
singer.
giving it more credit than it deserves.
I
The
believe
insurrection, sure.
I'm trying to remember his name, but he's the singer for a power metal band called Iced Earth, and he's actually one of the FBI's wanted for questioning people. And so all of the wussies in the metal community are all like, oh, screw that guy. I hate that band now. They used to be one of my favorite bands, and, all this kind of stuff. And then, the people who aren't wussies are like, hell yeah, that sounds like fun. I wish he'd have called me up. I'd have gone with.
It's the most metal thing you can do.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
At any rate.
Most of the protesters were hanging out, but it was more than just hanging out at the Capitol.
It was led by men with canes. I don't know if I haven't told you this. I mentioned it on air last night. One of the two feeds that I had going, they were both from just like people who were there. They were live, like YouTube streams or whatever. One of the guys, he was like, yeah, it's so weird. This wasn't, a bunch of youth getting upset with their political system. This was led by old men with canes, right? And I'm quoting this guy directly. I find that hilarious. He's like, 92-year-old men with canes were leading the charge.
And I think that's worth paying attention to.
I don't know that they were 92. This guy was probably in his mid-30s or something. But
conservatives' demographics tend to skew older.
Well, be that as it may, the rebellious impulse is very common when you are under the effects and influence of your hormones. Like when you hit a certain age, most people feel an instinctual desire to create something of their own,
right,
that distinguishes them from.
This is called coming of age,
right? It distinguishes them from their parents, from their family, from their community, their civilization. Yeah. A way of like making a mark on the world, something that gives them an identity, and a lot of times that takes the form of youthful rebellion.
Right.
So youthful rebellion is a very common thing, and that's.
All the more important if it's being led by men with canes.
Exactly.
Elderly rebellion, not a normal occurrence.
Exactly. Right. And this is something that sociologists will look at is that, okay, if you look at a given society and you look at their demographics age-wise, they will be much less inclined to violence if they have a certain percentage of older people because they'll be more likely to keep the peace and calm people's nerves.
Now, in the wake of all of this has been some... I'm having a hard time calling it censorship. It is censorship, but it's sort of private enterprise censorship.
Which is allowed.
But we have James calling from Pennsylvania, and he wanted to say something about the Twitter. James, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for coming on. I work in the media, and increasingly I've been getting irritated about this censorship that's going on, starting with YouTube, and now we have the President of the United States thrown off of Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the main reasons they justify this is the idea that, well, Twitter and Google and YouTube, they're all private companies.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the right to refuse platform, to any speech that they deem is, quote, dangerous. And so that justifies the idea, you can throw anyone off, censor anything.
Right, because they're not being thrown off the internet; they're being thrown off a little piece of the internet.
They're being thrown off their platforms.
Right.
So I would like to present a new theory. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I have a number of friends that are lawyers, and they said this may have some merit. But I'd like to propose a way of approaching this. First of all, the First Amendment applies only to the government as far as censorship is concerned. But I maintain that Twitter are not only corporations, they're public corporations. And that means that as corporations, they're creations of the state. If you go to Black's Law Dictionary and look it up, you'll see that a corporation is defined as an artificial entity created by the state.
Right. They're literally called legal fiction is what they're called. Legal fiction. Right.
So here's my theory. And I'm presenting this as a way of dealing with this.
Okay.
As public corporations, public corporations, not just private C corporations or S corporations or LLCs, they also have a fiduciary responsibility to the general public, we the people, not just their stockholders.
They have a fiduciary responsibility to the stockholders.
To the stockholders, but I maintain also to we the people to put out truthful information.
That would
especially
not be a
when you're dealing with
fiduciary
touchy
responsibility.
subjects.
Fiduciary
Pardon
means
me?
financial. They have a
Yes.
right.
Yeah, they're responsible fiduciary to their stockholders, but they're also have a responsibility to the public.
Okay.
Because they're broadcasting to the public, and if you look up the license, the FCC license, it says they're supposed to be fair and balanced.
So
you're
at
any rate, given this argument that Twitter, can be made that Twitter violated the First Amendment by censoring its citizens, I maintain that if Twitter and corporations are entities of the state, then really they're extensions of the state. So my position essentially is the state creates an artificial entity, a corporate person, then that entity is bound by all the same constitutional restrictions or privileges that the First Amendment would provide on individual on the government.
What if carrying that out? What if carrying that out conflicts with their fiduciary responsibility to their stockholders?
Now I'm just throwing out the bare
another way to make money.
Eon, is this Eon? Ian?
Actually, you're talking to Richie Rich. Hey, can you hang on through the break, James? We'd like to talk more to you about this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm just going to put you back on hold. 603-283-6160 is our number if you'd like to join us. We'll talk more with James about the legal fiction that is corporations and how they're censoring people.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
You're listening to the best Liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. Thank you for listening and tuning in. It is the Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live. Our telephone number here is 603-283-6160 if you'd like to join the conversation. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Bigless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
You've heard us talk about Divi here on Free Talk Live, and maybe you've wanted to set up one of their easy-to-deploy masternodes or even stake Divi so that you can begin earning Divi right now. Ian says setting up Divi masternodes was super easy, and staking was even easier. We are not investment advisors here on Free Talk Live, but we do think you will be impressed with your earning potential with Divi as compared to traditional investment vehicles. Go to diviproject.org to get started. You can buy Divi at several exchanges or directly from the Divi team, which is my preferred method. Need help? There is a link to their Telegram channel right on the front page at diviproject.org. That's D-I-V-I project.org. We're going to bring James from Pennsylvania back on. We were talking with James about, he was positing some theories as how corporations could theoretically be legally bound to respect the public, and that the banning of certain people from social media may in fact be censorship according to the law. James.
Yes, exactly. I produced and directed a film a number of years ago called Mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And the basic full title is Mainstream, How the Hollywood Studios and the New York Media Are Promoting the Globalist Agenda. And they're basically, the platforms that we see, the social media platforms, are basically following a lot of the playbook of the TV networks, and the TV networks are following the playbook of the MPAA studio distributors.
MPAA?
I have been pitching screenplays.
Motion Picture Association of America. Yeah.
Exactly. I've been pitching screenplays to Hollywood studios for 20 years now, and I'll tell you, they are totally crazy about their platform and unsolicited submissions and so on. So a lot of the tactics that they've been applying are now filtering down to social media, and they're not only hitting the average citizen, they're hitting people like Citizen Trump. I mean, they censor him, and he's the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military. You know, when he flies in a jet, it's called Air Force One. It doesn't matter what jet it is. And when he communicates on a communication network like Twitter, you know, it's a presidential communication channel. So I guess my point is this: there's three avenues that we may have to attack to apply the First Amendment to the state, and I'll finish with this: if I reword the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law abridging or the freedom of speech or of the press. Let's add into that Congress, i.e., the state and its spawns, shall make no law or corporate bylaw or policy abridging, censoring, canceling the freedom of speech or Twitter speech or videos of the press or social media.
Well, and that's part of the word
First Amendment should apply to Twitter.
That's excellent, James. Go ahead, guys.
Well, that's part of the word abridged. Like you're saying they can't do this, they can't do that. And I mean, it's a very strong word. I mean, not only can you not destroy not only can you not remove, but you can't even put a little, just if I cut off this corner here. Like that's
exactly right. It's like applied to guns, we have the word infringe.
Right.
You cannot hinder, as Sheriff Mack says. I made a film called Molon Law a number of years ago with Stuart Rhodes and Ron Paul.
Yeah.
And Sheriff Mack says the word abridge or infringe, perfect synonym for that is hinder. You cannot hinder my right to keep and bear arms. Right. So anything that infringes or abridges speech. But you see, the apologists of censorship are basically trying to maintain that these are free, these are private platforms, and therefore the First Amendment does not apply to them. I maintain they are not private; they are entities, they are spawns of the state because they are corporations.
How big does your corporation have to be?
Corporations.
How big does your corporation have to be to fall under that spawn of the state?
Well, any corporation, if you go to Black's Law Dictionary, look up the word corporation, it says an artificial entity of the state. So all it has to be is incorporated. Now, a public corporation is a different animal. You have to file an S-1 offering and, Reg D offering and take it, to NASDAQ or OTC.
So the corner store, the corner market that's incorporated under the state would have to give you platform to free speech inside of their store without the ability to remove you from their property because they are incorporated under the state as a corporation.
Well, let me say this. I'm in a huge argument on the internet right now at the MindX at escapevelocity.com.
I'm sorry about that. Mm-hmm.
Huge argument. That's what prompted me to call you, and my friend Paul Gibbons suggested I call you. So we are ironing out all this stuff. I am only trying to apply this to speech because the only product or thing that the Constitution referred to specifically is speech.
Right, sure.
It says media or the press. Right. So I'm not dealing with, the cake maker. Did he have a right to throw people out of his bakery because this and that?
Well, if he's
I'm
incorporated...
simply trying to limit this argument to speech and the question of whether a corporate entity that also delivers speech can be subject to the First Amendment. In other words, let's try to iron that down, then whether you can scream fire in a movie theater. And by the way, I maintain you can scream fire in the movie theater, okay? But you have to be willing to suffer the legal consequences of doing that.
Well, what are the legal consequences?
Well, someone might get trampled and then you pay medical bills.
Somebody can sue you if they're stampeding out of the theater and you break their leg. So, but that's a kind of another issue. If we could just, stick to the first issue. The question of, is a corporation an artificial entity of the state? Is it bound by all the same constitutional restrictions and privileges?
I'm not a constitutional lawyer, so I don't know the answer to that, but it is definitely worth pondering.
Well, so here's something
I did take this to a corporate lawyer, and he says that I'm right on.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, they have the protections.
I'm not sure just because that's one lawyer saying it's right on. As I said, I'm in the middle of a huge argument. The argument is going on at escapevelocity.com.
Okay.
So
it's part of the MindX. The MindX was created by Ray Kurzweil, who's now the Chief Technology Officer of Google Corporation.
Sure.
From Twitter's perspective, as a corporation, this is why I brought up, before the break, the fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, right? Their whole purpose, their fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders is profit maximization under that corporate paradigm.
Well, but within the law. They have to act within the law.
Understood.
So if they have pre-existing requirements as a corporation. So, I mean, the thing about corporations is they have all of the benefits, but they have none of the requirements of being part of government.
That's right.
We treat government differently.
That's right. People try to hide behind the corporate veil, yet they take none of the social responsibilities.
But their fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders means that they have to maximize profits for those shareholders
within the law.
Again, I heard it the first time.
So if they've become an entity that has this obligation, then they have to fulfill this obligation.
They currently
because
don't
it
have that obligation.
As a corporation, that's what we're asking.
And I'm answering. If you let me get my sentence out.
That's a very good point, because on the one hand, they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders.
So let me finish that thought, both of you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Their fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, maximize profit. What they will claim is that in order to maximize profit, you have to have a certain number of users using your platform. And if you make your platform open to all comers, you will isolate those good people who will use the platform respectfully, and you will only attract the worst of society, which is what Twitter devolved into for a long period of time, where it was a platform of trolling and harassment. And using their fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, they said that is not the kind of platform we want to be.
Okay?
We're going to ban that speech
in a way. Okay?
so that
Hang
you
on,
maximize the amount of people who are using our platform.
Yeah, we heard you.
Okay. But here's the thing. I'm going to go back to kind of a libertarian philosophy, a pure philosophy. Either free speech is free or it isn't.
But it is free speech
Either you're
on
going to let
private
people,
property.
the doctrine of free speech, either you're going to allow it or you're not going to allow it.
Well, now that's actually the question we're having right now is Twitter or YouTube as corporations, are they private property, given that they are in fact government entities?
They're publicly held entities. They are spawns of the government. They are government.
But public means their ownership.
It has bylaws. I'm the CEO of a corporation in Delaware. I have bylaws that I have to live by for my stockholders.
James, I appreciate the call tonight. Thank you very much. You've incited an argument here in the studio as well. So have a good night, man. Interesting stuff. We can talk about that more, obviously, and anything else that's on your mind if you call 603-283-6160.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. Go there now, click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find a cornucopia of information, neatly organized for your needs. If you're a knowledgeable crypto user, check out news.bitcoin.com where you can get the latest headlines. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a slick and easy-to-use website. All put together by the best minds in the business to teach you about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Calls for impeachment grow louder. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. More and more Democrats are joining the chorus of those seeking impeachment of President Trump following last week's Capitol attack. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was on CBS's 60 Minutes discussing it with Leslie Stahl.
There is a possibility that after all of this, there's no punishment, no consequence, and he could run again for president.
And that's one of the motivations that people have for advocating for impeachment.
Won't that take more than the 10 days? And does it actually make sense?
Well, I like the 25th Amendment because it gets rid of him. He's out of office.
Many Republicans think impeachment will only serve as a distraction. Senior Democratic lawmakers are telling Fox News to expect censure resolutions in the House for Congressman Louis Gohmert of Texas and Mo Brooks of Alabama. The action in response to Gohmert's attempt to overturn the election results and for comments made by Brooks to a crowd of Trump supporters before Wednesday's riot at the Capitol. The number of cases of COVID-19 has surpassed 90 million and has killed more than 2 million people worldwide. Johns Hopkins University says there are more than 22 million confirmed cases in the U.S. President-elect Biden's pledging to speed up the vaccination process.
He said at the current rate of vaccine distribution, it would take years, not months, to vaccinate the whole country. And to speed it up, Biden will reverse the Operation Warp Speed policy of holding back vaccine doses for booster shots, that second shot, in order to get more vaccine out now.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich. The average price of regular gasoline jumped 9 cents a gallon over the past 3 weeks to $2.35. Industry analyst Trilby Lundberg says a rise in crude oil prices spurred the increase. Still, gas is about 30 cents less a gallon than a year ago. America is listening to Fox News.
Even in the new year, it's hard to start a new routine. But if you're one of the 34% of Americans who made a resolution to be less stressed, Headspace is here to help. Headspace is one of the only meditation apps advancing the field of mindfulness and meditation through clinically validated research and can reduce stress, improve sleep, boost focus, and increase your overall sense of well-being. Go to headspace.com/Fox for a free 1-month trial. This is the best deal offered right now. Headspace.com/Fox.
Democratic lawmakers are hoping they can quickly get a waiver for President-elect Biden's nominee for defense secretary. Fox's Rachel Sutherland explains.
The new president could start his term without a defense secretary in place. Retired General Lloyd Austin needs a waiver from Congress due to a required 7-year cooling-off period between active duty service and leading the Pentagon. A spokesperson for the Senate Armed Services Committee told Defense News he's confident the waiver will pass the House. Last week, President-elect Biden said, "My nominees for critical national security positions at State, Defense, Treasury, and Homeland Security have bipartisan support and have been confirmed by the Senate before. They need to be in their jobs as soon as possible after January 20th. Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Iran says a South Korean diplomatic delegation has arrived in the country to negotiate the release of a tanker. The vessel's seizure came as Iranian officials have been pressing South Korea to release some $7 billion in assets tied up due to American sanctions. Wisconsin dentists have been able to receive the COVID-19 vaccine, but not from the state's government.
Wearing a mask isn't an option when getting work done on your teeth.
So just by nature of where we work in the mouth. So in very close proximity. So it just leaves us very vulnerable.
Ann Allman owns Tosa Dental. She and her staff proudly got the coronavirus vaccine to finish out 2020. But their doses didn't come directly from the state. They got a call from Tosa Pediatrics, who ended up with action.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Big tech news this week as Microsoft has unveiled its new generation Xbox One. Designers say the console's revolutionary new voice command feature makes it easier than ever for the Xbox to control its users. According to Microsoft spokesman Don Matrick, quote, "The Xbox One is programmed with a host of simple voice commands that you will respond to instantly. In addition to phrases like jump, shoot, and insert game disc, users will also understand more complicated instructions like download Call of Duty Update or come into the room and turn on Xbox."
The Xbox One tells us what games to play, what music to listen to, what shows to watch.
Watch TV.
And with that simple command, I'm watching live TV.
The new Xbox's high-tech sensors can also detect your expression and tell when you're looking away from the television.
Andy, look back at the TV.
Microsoft says the new Xbox can also command you using your smartphone or tablet. TechBuzz is raving, quote, "It's the immersive obedience experience we've been waiting for."
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Hour number dos. Number zwei. Number, what's the French one?
Deux.
Un deux. Hour number deux. Hour number 2 here on Free Talk Live. We are well into it. Our telephone number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Or if you're, part of the hearing impaired, 603-283-6160. I hope that got through to you.
It's Braille on the website if you want to go there.
Braille on the website. It's a good band name.
Have at it.
This is Free Talk Live. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
We've been talking about all sorts of fun things. Our previous caller was talking about the legality and perhaps public responsibility of corporations since they are creations of the state, thus making what they are doing by banning people censorship in the legal form. He had me at Congress shall make no law.
If you stop there, fine.
If he'd have just stopped there, like, I'm fine, or anybody, even if, the folks writing, all the stuff back in ancient days, the guys in white wigs and robes and stuff.
Though? You'd have no law enforcement to enforce that edict.
Well, I mean, technically, the Constitution and
it would fall to the
Bill of Rights and all that stuff isn't enforced anyway. So, what's the Spooner quote?
It has either made this happen or been powerless to stop it,
right?
Something like that.
Exactly.
That's the paraphrase.
So, words on paper, and certainly the ones who claim to be leaders. I'm talking about the dirty lunatics, the liars, the thieves, the mafia known as government. Have basically used the Constitution, Bill of Rights as toilet paper. They might as well, because they obviously don't care about it.
Then why should we?
Well, yeah, that's a good question.
Is that why we're running out?
I keep telling everybody, whenever anybody asks, like, Captain Kickass, what are you the captain of? I'm the captain of myself. Well, what's the kick-ass part? Well, I'd like to kick ass at being the captain of myself, and you should too.
You do a great job of it.
So I'm pointing it at myself, first and foremost, and then hopefully setting some kind of an example for other people to, hey, I could be the captain of myself too, and I could kick ass at leading myself.
So not the captain of kick-ass, but the kick-ass of self-captaincy.
Right. I've been wrongly accused of being the captain of kicking ass, and that is not true. I have had my ass kicked. I've done my share of kicking ass when, having physical altercations and that kind of thing, more when I was a rowdy youth than, anything today. But I can certainly defend myself, but I'm certainly not going to be so... I don't know, filled with hubris that I am the captain of kicking ass. No, that's not true.
But you are the kicking ass of self-captaincy.
I'm kicking ass at self-captaincy. Yes, absolutely. So let's do what we do here on Free Talk Live. Let's go to Ronald, who's calling from Indiana. Ronald, you're on Free Talk Live.
Thank you much, sir.
Indeed.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. What's on your mind, Ronald?
Well, I'd like to talk about gematria for a start. It's an ancient Hebrew word.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell our...
Gematria is number 8.
We have a Hebrew expert in studio.
Well, we have a guy who's familiar with the word here in the studio. I'd just like him to sort of recap for our listeners what that word means for those who don't know.
Okay, so those of you Googling at home, Gematria is basically the idea that since ancient cultures, including Judaism and Greek, used their letters as numbers, that the words that we speak have a numerical value to them, and it's usually gaining insight by seeing parallels in the numbers of different words.
Okay, sorry about that, Ronald. We just wanted to make sure our listeners are up to speed with the definition, so go ahead with your thoughts.
Well, the number 8, in gematria or Jewish ancient Hebrew culture, it means God.
Okay.
It's the most valuable number in that system. And I mean, this is going to sound kind of crazy right off the bat, but the reason God chose that number is because it makes the number of the return of his son 4 2s.
Go on.
You okay?
4 2s?
Yeah.
Okay, why is that significant?
You said you have a minister with you, right?
Yep.
Okay, well, in the book of Daniel, it says, "Oh, Daniel, close up the book until the time of the end."
Mm-hmm.
Well, they do that. The Torah, there's a Hebrew Bible code. The Torah code, the first 5 books you can lay out like a jigsaw, a dots pattern, in a board, and ask a question. That's how the Simpsons predicted the deaths of the judge on the hunting trip in Texas and Trump coming down the stairs. You can get a computer, buy the program, and ask it questions and get answers.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, you want to hear? You know what I did today about 12 times?
No, I don't.
I texted the
dropped it.
If you type in Iran on Twitter,
mm.
and send them a whole message. The first 5 Iran things that came up, I sent them a picture of myself, and then I sent them my ID. And I explained to them that their main guy did a 14-year-old, excuse my vulgar language, but it's what happened. And the guy that was a child molester, and he's not a prophet. And I sent them my picture of my ID and told them where I live.
Okay.
Yeah, God promised the year Israel would become a nation that generation would see the return of the 2 witnesses that died in the street of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking to one of them.
I'm having trouble connecting all of the dots that you just laid out.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Okay.
Well, if the preacher, he'll explain to you about Israel and the fig tree generation. Israel became a nation in 1948. And God promised that there would be some alive at that time that would see the return of the Messiah, Jesus Christ.
Who did God make the promise to, and is there a recording of God's promise?
That's in the Bible. In the New Testament. I don't have the verse. I've got a lot of verses.
Are you referring to where Jesus cursed the fig tree?
No, where it explained that the fig tree generation is the generation that saw Israel become a nation. When the fig tree blooms again, which means Israel becoming a nation, it says that this generation shall also see all fulfilled. I think the all fulfilled part might bring it up in the New Testament somewhere if you have a biblical tutorist or whatever, a word thing that looks stuff up.
So you're predicting the return of Jesus Christ within this generation?
No, I'm telling you, I'm not predicting. I'm telling you that February 2nd of 22, he'll be on earth again.
Well, it specifically says that no man may know the hour of his return.
Right. If you go to the Hebrew Bible Torah code and type in Ronald Wayne Southwell Jr., it will bring up capital I, capital A, capital M. No man knoweth the day. So therefore, God waited this long for some blind man. If you go to the song Child in Time by Deep Purple, he plainly says 3 times, blind man, tweeting at the world in 1970.
That is interesting.
Dr. Ben Carson is supposed to be the other guy. In the song Pink Houses by Mellencamp, John Cougar Mellencamp, There's a black man with a black cat, Dr. Carson, he and a blind man, me, are in a hurry.
Hey, Ronald, thanks for the call tonight. We do appreciate it. I just want to tell everybody, because he brought up John Cougar Mellencamp, I just want to let everybody know that, he started out as John Cougar, and then he changed his name to John Cougar Mellencamp, and then he changed his name to just John Mellencamp, and then he's going to change it again, but this time it's John Camp Cougar Mellon.
Are you serious?
No, I'm joking. It's a complete joke. Did you have some information to share?
Oh, I was just going to say, so the thing about gematria is that it really is open to interpretation, and the only useful thing that I've found to do with it is basically to use it as a method to use your left brain to consult your right brain. Because your right brain knows a lot of things, but they're very vague and non-specific.
Right.
So they're ways to get messages from one side of your brain to the other side of your brain. Now, using them for predictions has never worked out that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You just don't have the Torah books put together in the right configuration.
The interesting part of his call to me was the bit about the Simpsons predictions. So that was kind of, I was curious about that because, well, we've all seen the memes whenever something, historical goes on and they're like, oh, Simpsons did this in 1998 or whatever.
But now they're
right?
faking them.
603-283-6160. Stay where you are.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
This is The Onion Week in Review. In light of reports this week of a Russian crime ring stealing 1.2 billion username and password combinations from internet users, experts from top security firms across the country reportedly advised Americans to refrain from clicking on anything at all. The nation's top security specialists warned individuals to actively avoid any scrolling or swiping on the internet, and further urged Americans, as an added precaution, to steer clear of buttons, keyboards, and computer screens altogether. In other news, an employer botches a job interview. A date's flaws are coming at a woman faster than she can rationalize them, and a going out of business sign thanks a neighborhood for 3 months of no support whatsoever. Whether or not this video news summary eased the pain of your existence, you can now take solace in the fact that you're a few minutes closer to departing this meaningless world. For more, keep checking theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live. Our telephone number, if you'd like to join the conversation, is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Bigless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And everyone has their own idea of what freedom is. But for some, freedom is the freedom to swing free like the Scotsmen do. Richie Rich over here and Mark Edge got themselves some great kilts from sportkilt.com. You can even see our hosts wearing Sport Kilt's particular form of freedom at kilts.freetalklive.com. You haven't felt freedom until you've worn a kilt from sportkilt.com.
I tested mine out in the winter weather. Held up, no problem.
I was going to say, didn't you wear one to the New Year's thing?
I did.
Okay.
That was part of it because they said, like, no, just put on some long socks. So I got my long socks. I put on my kilt, and I went out in the New Hampshire cold.
Yeah, on New Year's Eve, and you were just fine?
I was just fine.
Awesome. Excellent. We have lots of stuff to talk about, but we do have somebody calling in on our Matrix server, and that we're going to go to his call right now. Reverend Ratspeed, can you hear us?
Good evening.
Indeed.
How are you?
Oh, you sound great. You are on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, before I start, I just want to say, my microphone is attached to an arm, so I guess you could be saying that I'm talking to you through my boomstick. To tie in from earlier.
Nice. Very nice.
Oh, you evil dead nerds.
I spent a little money on this thing. Yeah, I'm actually talking to you on an EV320, which is a variation of the ones that you guys are talking on. So, anyway, I've been listening to everything, and I've been seeing everything that's been happening this week, and so many things have been happening. I have so many thoughts. My mind has been all over the place. So if you want to hear a question when I ask, I guess I could ask that question first, but I just want to kind of point out all of the stuff that's happening in the Capitol, all of the problems that are happening in the world right now. I think it really all comes back down to friction between the internet and the so-called real world. This is the common theme that I keep on seeing everywhere. There's a difference between people that just know how to use the computer and then double click a mouse, and then there's the people that live online and consider cyberspace to be its own place, its own identity, its own nation. I don't know how many people out there would agree with me or even are aware of this, but QAnon really started out as a huge troll against establishment thinkers, against people that don't live online.
Yeah, that was my understanding, was that it was just kind of a joke.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at where it started on, 4chan, 8chan specifically, it started out with a bunch of well-known memes and a big joke, and then there's people that don't get it. They don't understand that it's satire. They even consider some of the people on there serious. And then this culture started forming, and then it just kind of grew on its own.
Well,
all of the
and now I feel personally that it has become a religion.
Well,
exactly.
What's that rule of unless you have context to tell you which is which, you can't tell the difference between satire and reality? I mean, that's definitely the age we live in.
And if you notice that you guys said it right out, that most of the people who stormed the Capitol were older people. They were probably people that are more blue-collar workers, that are more traditional patriots, and they're probably, there's this feeling, there's this friction, this feeling of threat that this internet thing or the people on it or the people that are in control, they are in control, and that these patriots are out of control. They don't have a feeling of control. So what's the only thing that they can do is the irrational feeling of, well, let's physically storm a building where people, people that are part of an established government don't understand the internet either, and making all these laws.
It's a series of tubes.
Yeah,
it's not a dump truck.
This all exactly is. It's an exact extension of that same sentiment. Yeah, the internet technically is a series of tubes or pipes, is what he really meant to say.
Right.
So that brings me to think, and then the other caller was calling up about, corporate law, and what a corporation is it public, is it private? And so then the thought coming back to me is, well, there's no digital commons because you're either on one person's server or another person's server. So, pushing the law part aside, you're actually on someone's virtual private space that is hosted on a physical bot.
You have to have an ISP, subscribe to one, or otherwise, somebody's providing it
I've
to you.
made that case a long time ago, right, where the censorship can go all the way down to the point where those who are disenfranchised are going to have to build like their own internet from scratch.
Exactly.
Because at every stage you go that they're getting censored or deplatformed, or whatever area you want to use, it's because they're beholden to the service of another organization.
Yeah. Cypherpunks who are listening to this program, we're looking at you. We're looking to you for some help.
Yeah, where's my mesh network, guys?
There's an old meme back from the late 90s. Will work for bandwidth. I mean, if anyone who's been around for this long as I have knows that, ThinkGeek.com used to sell it as a license plate holder. And so then, what is the commons? So what is the digital common? What is the digital equivalent of a commons? Common carrier laws, bandwidth. Because if you look at what a commons is, it's defined originally as materials such as air, water, and habitable earth. So coming back to the whole thing about net neutrality and who owns the pipe, who owns the tubes.
A corporation owns the pipe and owns the tubes.
Well, several corporations.
Then I started thinking about the difference between centralized servers, which could be also, centralized corporations, which could be construed as an extension of the government because the government offers them, originally it was supposed to be a temporary grant of super human powers to be considered a person, but now it's permanent because of so long as so
turns out if you give them superhuman powers, they can bribe you to give them more.
Right.
So the raw materials for cyberspace needs to be bandwidth. So that means that even if, let's say, if you're from your home and you're broadcasting out, the only way that you can really call something a commons is if you can broadcast from your server to other people's servers. And I started thinking about Mastodon, decentralized platforms, and federated broadcasting.
Okay.
Being able to connect up to willing, voluntary people that want to connect up to your server or, at least be part of the commons. But then I also started thinking, well, things such as air, water, and habitable earth are things that are commonly referred to as, God-given or nature, or in other words, beyond human control, beyond within the thing. And so I'm thinking, okay, so that means that encryption and math, things, in other words, blockchain, all of this is progressing toward a digital world, and right now we're facing the friction between those two cultures.
Those are interesting thoughts, Reverend. We appreciate the call tonight. Thanks. 603-283-6160. Will the internet eventually vacuum up reality?
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government, the real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive.
It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. I'm experimenting with, different potential 3-note, commercials do that, right? Like, buy Menon, right? That's like 3 notes, right? Free Talk Live, right?
Sure.
Okay. No love for the 3
Those
note.
are our 3
Live.
notes.
Yeah.
Trademark.
603-283-6160. We'll get to your calls and thoughts momentarily. It is Free Talk Live, the live Sunday night edition. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Beakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And I wanted to take a minute to tell you about ForkFest 2021.
Sweet.
You can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week... that might not be true.
Uh-oh. Did they move it?
I'm just going to read the copy, and then we'll let announcements come as they come. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th, possibly the greatest week in, for libertarian types and anarchist types to happen during that week. And this is going to happen regardless of any government lockdowns and, masking and all that kind of stuff.
Does that now coincide directly with PorkFest? Because I thought those dates sound similar.
I'm not at liberty to use the word incorrectly, to say, so I will let other folks make those announcements when it's appropriate. Where better to celebrate Independence Day, though, than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? I can't think of a better place. You can relax and just enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with the fellow ForkFesters at the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those can be found on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar now for June 28th through July 4th, 2021, and we'll see you at forkfest.party. And stay tuned for more announcements surrounding that. So I wanted to just make another point. Reverend Ratspeed, I don't think he got to his point. I feel like he was building up to one, but maybe not. But I made a, comment about, will the internet, vacuum up your reality, something along those lines.
Provocative.
And essentially, that's exactly what the internet has been doing since the dawn of the internet. Actually, it actually goes back before the internet to what we call the network effect, right? And this is where the whole process or thought philosophy around decentralization comes from, right? If you have one single thing controlling a bunch of things and you take out that one single thing, all the things it controls now just don't do anything, right? So you have a whole bunch of different things controlling a whole bunch of smaller things, and then if you take one out, well, the other ones can fall under control of the other things and that type of thing. This is where
exactly how your brain works.
Yes. Synapses, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. So the whole process of the network effect, that is people communicating together over networks, creates technologies that improve humans' experience, right? So the telegraph, the television, the telephone, right? These are all things. Ooh, hey. Is that an amendment or a woman's? Well, we'll talk about that later. So the network effect, creates things or allows man to create things that improve our existence. And the internet just digitizes all of that, turns it into ones and zeros, and sends it across fiber networks, right? So what's the first thing that the internet vacuumed up? Newspapers. The internet came for your newspapers and vacuumed them up. Craigslist single-handedly put newspapers out of business. Not all of them, obviously. There's still newspapers that exist. But classified ads were newspapers' bread and butter. That's what they lived off of. And the network effect, i.e. the internet, and one simple website known as Craigslist basically decimated newspapers, right? And still, there's newspapers going out of business every day here in the United States anyway. So that's what I'm talking about when I say the internet is vacuuming up your reality, right? The network effect is allowing people to invent new ways of doing things that improve the human condition, human existence, that allow us to communicate better, faster than we have before, in different ways than we have before. And so the latest thing, of course, we know is cryptocurrency. Right? It is the latest network effect technology. I don't think it's done. I don't think the internet is done vacuuming up realities. I specifically don't think the blockchain technology is done. Yes, cryptocurrency is a killer app for blockchain technology, but it is capable of so much more. And the one I'm most excited about, of course, is vacuuming up all different levels of bureaucracy. Because if you think about just bureaucracy in and of itself, I'm talking specifically about things like record keeping or official recognition of something, right?
Registration.
I built a thing, certificates of authenticity, that type of thing. I built a thing. Land title, car title, all this kind of stuff. Bureaucracy literally can be replaced by the blockchain. So in that respect, yes, the internet is vacuuming up your reality, and it's not done, and it's going to continue. So the choices are get with it or don't.
And I'd say that Craigslist was a more evolved form of the classified ads.
Yes, absolutely. It was an improvement on what already existed. It was so much an improvement that everybody just immediately went to it.
Yeah, and cryptocurrency is a more evolved form of currency.
Yes.
And when we move blockchain technology into overseeing contracts, for example, we're going to see a much faster, more efficient, more effective, more just, and more evolved form of doing contracts.
Yes. We can discuss this more if you like, but first, let's get to Mark, who's calling from Tennessee. Mark, you are on Free Talk Live.
Hey, Captain Kickass, can you hear me okay?
I can. What's on your mind tonight, Mark?
Terrific. Hey, I just want to make sure I called. Free speech is the issue. As you know, there's a whole lot going on recently this week. I am not a Parler user.
Okay.
However, social media in general is affected by what is going on. And I am a big Float supporter, as some of you already know.
I'm on Float.
And
Float.
I already run, flote.app. And I actually have an LRN channel. I am a 24/7 LRN channel on Float, Studio 8424 LRN.
So wait, you're rebroadcasting us? That's awesome.
That's correct.
Thank you
I've
for
been
your
doing
service.
that for over a year.
That's amazing, Mark.
Oh, you there?
Yep, we're here. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I totally respect that, and thank you.
So I wanted to say, in terms of free speech, it has really been the platform for me to really exercise my free speech. There's been a lot of problems with people getting censored in things, even on Parler and other platforms. And I have not had that. As a matter of fact, it's kind of an unusual thing to actually say that I've had a good day every day on Float. And I have been able to actually do my, have my Studio 8424 brand, which is my business, exercised on Float. And so I encourage people to grab their stream key and say what they want to say and don't say what they don't want to say. You may be aware people are on YouTube, people are on BitChute, and because they're primarily considered YouTubers, they try to hem and haw around certain words, or they don't say certain words.
The
can't say
important thing to
COVID,
exercise
for
in that
example.
free speech is going to be the decentralized aspect of whatever platform everyone migrates to. Because if it's centralized,
Right.
they will get attacked by the state. If it's federated, even
Right.
it can withstand state encroachment and still thrive.
So I think that what we're going to learn a lot from Andrew Torba and his experience and what he went through and how Rob Monster of Epic helped him. But I think you're right. Decentralization is the key. And but I'm excited because
Hey, Mark.
it also
Mark, can you
matters
hang
what-
on? Can you hang on? Hold on. We'll keep you after the break. 603-283-6160.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country.
Yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you know the difference between erudite and pedantic? If you do, you're probably pedantic. But seriously, a surprising number of erudite people mispronounce erudite, which has 3 syllables, not 4. Say erudite, not erudite. Because you are judged by how you speak, you want to avoid common misstatements, especially if you're a job seeker. For instance, do you know the difference between imply and infer? Only a speaker can imply. Only a listener can infer. And when you say you'll be out of pocket, do you mean out of touch? Out of pocket means you're on your own dime, not yet reimbursed. And if anyone ever asks, why do you always answer a question with a question? You should reply, do I do that? Just kidding. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Oh, wow, man. Like, what were we talking about, bro?
Dave's not here.
Do you know? I don't know. I do know. You guys have sort of
set you straight.
What do you call it? When
Jogged your memory.
Jogged, yes, thank you. Why is it called jogging your memory? Why isn't it sprinting your memory?
Like thumping it.
Or, well, yeah, but jogging, I mean, it implies kind of running.
A slow pace.
A slower version of running, yes.
I'm not sure, and now I'm going to have to look it up, but I think it refers to sort of a thumping, which is you thump the ground when you jog. Now I'm going to have to look it up.
Okay.
You thump the ground when you run.
While you're
it's
looking
sort of
it
like
up.
jerking it into place.
It's sort of like jerking it. Okay. While you guys are looking it up, I am going to let our listeners know that they are indeed listening to Free Talk Live. It is the Sunday night edition. Our telephone number is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. We are going to go back to Mark in Tennessee, who I'm pretty sure... Yeah, hang on, Mark. I was pretty sure was talking about float. And so during the break, both Richie Rich and Peakless Mountaineer were doing some looking up of things regarding float as well. So we have things to say. Richie Rich, go ahead.
And we were talking about float, and the captain's like, what are we talking about?
What were we talking about, man?
Okay. Jog, two mover shake with a push or a jerk.
So yeah, it means to shake, and we applied that to the running motion.
I'm the jerk in this particular
we applied
definition.
it to a running motion because definition 5 is to cause a horse to go at a steady trot.
All right.
But yeah, it started from the shaking.
So maybe, and Mark may know, and I know you guys have looked it up, but Mark, Float, the social media app, who owns
that thing?
Is it decentralized, and who owns it?
So it's about a year and a half. Kingsley Edwards and Aaron Edwards recently married. He's the CEO. They're kind of the co-CEOs of the company.
Yeah.
I can't speak to the shareholders or whatever, but there's the CEO and his wife.
I'm familiar with Aaron.
And they have been very gracious, and they've visited either Fork Fest or Pork Fest recently, and that's because I basically started a year ago with turning on the station. I wanted to learn how to stream, and I realized I didn't have a whole lot of my own content, and I remembered that LRN wanted to have other affiliates. And so I decided to figure out what this stream key was all about, and that led me down this path. And now I teach other people how to have their own internet radio stations and TV stations on Float.
Nice.
And it's important because free speech is important, and we're not getting the right information in the mainstream media, obviously.
I'm really glad you're doing this, but my problem with it is this. So we were talking very, very briefly about how Parler's been kicked out of the Amazon servers. It's been taken off of the app stores and all of that. So when you have anything that's at all centralized, if it becomes popular enough that it actually starts to threaten the monopoly on information that these large corporations have, they just take it out. So, I mean, when we're putting a lot of energy into something that isn't decentralized, isn't that putting all our eggs in one basket? Again.
Well, let me just say, Float does not intend to remain a centralized platform. It has a decentralization strategy, as far as I understand. I don't want to speak out of turn on behalf of Kingsley and the company, because I'm not with the company directly, but I do a lot of activity on the website. So I'm very active. I'm very, as far as promoting the business and my own business as well. So we're friends in that way. And so I'm probably one of the most active users, I think, as far as it goes. Plus the fact that my channel is always on. I was the first always on channel on the platform.
You're rolling 24/7.
So, and that means, yes, that means LRN.FM airs 24/7 on the platform, and Free Talk Live is carried the video feed from 7 to 10 every single day.
Nice.
So that's what I do. I'm pretty proud of it, and I intend to create more always on channels. But this is free speech is the reason for this. And yes, they have some architecture things to build and work out as far as it goes. I believe what's going to happen is relationships matter, and I believe that people are going to find decentralized ways to have Float or similar systems connect on the internet. And I believe that people like us who are into the crypto space and they're into free speech and I realize liberty is more important, we're going to continue to find ways to interoperate and stay in touch and stay together, whatever the corporate flag happens to be, or if there is one.
Yeah, let's talk about
right
that for
now,
a second.
Float is not being... Go ahead.
I was saying Float.app allows users to contribute financially to their favorite creators via cryptocurrency.
Oh, that's cool.
Right.
That's correct.
So
every new user gets a BTC account.
Right. So if you liked his live stream, you can go directly to his Float account or profile, and tip him cryptocurrency directly.
And can you extract your keys?
So they are moving to a non-custodial situation. It's not there yet.
Okay.
But in terms of it going, they've started out from the get-go in this beta, allowing people to use crypto and also get a stream key from the get-go as a new user.
Have you received any cryptocurrency, Mark, yourself?
Yes, I'm doing pretty well. In fact, with the appreciation of Bitcoin here, it's actually kind of been pretty awesome.
That's fine. I have one follow-up question, if you don't mind. So if you've received cryptocurrency as part of being on Float, have you been able to move that cryptocurrency off of Float to, some other wallet?
Well, I can do that. I have not done that.
So, but it's possible
I
to
have
do.
other
Okay.
wallets. Yes, because I can basically I can go to any other address and I can send payment to that address.
Awesome.
And, you pay the network fee to do that,
Sure.
which obviously we all know that BTC is a little bit high compared to others.
Yeah.
But yes, it can be done.
I just want to make sure there was a mechanism to move it. So some of these, the reason I ask that question at all is just because of this sort of junior implementation of Bitcoin that PayPal has attempted, where you can.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't even go there. I wouldn't even touch it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. It doesn't seem like they've really bought in and they're really using it as a marketing ploy just to generate their name in the papers, if you will.
Kingsley Edwards has a strong Bitcoin and crypto background.
Yep.
They've done crypto meetups in Las Vegas over the years. And so, in fact, Aaron credits their relationship with Bitcoin or for their relationship, which is pretty ironic as far as, creating a currency being part of that. But it is kind of cute to talk about. They named their dog Satoshi. So, that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say, for me, free speech is the big deal. I'm going to be operating a news channel always on here soon. And the importance of that is being able to say what you want to say and not say what you don't want to say, and being able to report facts.
Nice.
Float has never given me, they've never said to me, strike this or don't do that. Sure. They've always been very supportive.
Hey, Mark,
for that, I've always appreciated it.
Yeah, how do people find you on Float? Is there a URL? How do folks find you? Do you have a name?
Well, you can go float.app, flote.app, and I'm basically known as Studio 8424, and the channel that airs LRN is Studio 8424 LRN.
Awesome.
And they'll find me because I'm always on.
Awesome. Thanks for the call tonight, Mark. We do appreciate it, and thank you for your work. That's pretty cool stuff, man.
I've been on Float for months already.
Yeah?
So every time they say, here's a new platform, I just go ahead and set up a profile, and then I wait for everyone else to join me.
People continually give me crap about, not being on the new platforms and that kind of a thing. And I'm not. I'm still on the old platforms. I was also one of the last to leave MySpace, so that's kind of my thing. I wait until the platform's really dead, and then I'm like, okay, where? Because I have so many accounts for so many things that
I'm waiting for there to be something decentralized that has a decent customer base before I'm going to invest the time and energy to make something worthwhile on it.
And
the customer base is difficult because you got to get there, and then the network effect has to follow you.
Right. And what I've seen thus far, anyway, and maybe Float is different. I haven't looked into Float specifically, but with some of these is that folks will, leave Twitter and leave Facebook, and then they'll join these other things, and it becomes an echo chamber. And the reason that I do this show is to spread the message of freedom. Now, who needs to hear that? People who have already heard it and know it, or people who have never been exposed to it before?
Well, with all the censorship, that echo chamber is going to increase.
Yeah. 603-283-6160. Hour number 3 coming up.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. D-I-V-I Project.org.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Coinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Coinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Coinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
focus on removing the president. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has told her colleagues in a letter they will vote early this week on a resolution calling on VP Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump. Afterwards, she says they'll move forward with impeachment legislation. Democrats believe President Trump was responsible for inciting last week's Capitol attack. Former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney believes something is different about the president.
I wrote a piece in the Wall Street Journal 6 weeks ago saying that I thought the president would leave in a presidential manner. I really did believe that at the time. The stories I told to back that up were true. I've seen the president be presidential before, and I know that he has the ability to do it. He did it every single day. I don't know what's different. If it's different about him now, if it's different about his advisors.
Mulvaney on Fox News Sunday. At least 25 domestic terrorism cases have been opened as a result of Wednesday's assault on the Capitol. That according to Democratic Representative James Crow of Colorado. Delaware Senator Chris Coons on CBS's Face the Nation said he's concerned about the inauguration.
It is more urgent than ever that we flood the zone around the Capitol with federal resources to ensure the safe transfer of power to President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris in 10 days, when virtually the entire Congress will be assembled again.
President Trump has ordered U.S. flags at half-staff at federal buildings after the death of 2 Capitol police officers. Authorities in Central California are searching for 6 inmates who used a homemade rope to escape from a jail in Merced County. The sheriff's office says the 6 Hispanic men between the ages of 19 and 22 are considered armed and dangerous. America is listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
California lawmakers resumed their session on Monday with one of the first items on the to-do list being how to mend the state's coronavirus-ravaged economy. Another priority will be fixing a state unemployment agency that's at the center of a titanic fraud case that could exceed $2 billion. A Minneapolis police officer who criticized the department in a magazine article after the death of George Floyd has been reprimanded.
Colleen Ryan spoke to GQ magazine after the death of George Floyd in late May and criticized the department for having what she called a toxic culture. Disciplinary records made public on Friday show the officer received a letter of reprimand on December 2nd. Ryan was an anonymous source in the June 10th article, but the Star Tribune reports her name was made public in records released on Friday under a court order that's part of an ongoing human rights investigation into the department's practices. In his disciplinary decision, Police Chief Madaria Arredondo said Ryan should have sought permission to speak to the media from the department's public information officer. Ted Lindner, Fox News.
An official in Sweden has lost his job for taking a vacation during the pandemic. Fox's Simon Owen reports from London.
Millions of people in Sweden received text messages last month from their government urging them not to travel over Christmas to help slow the spread of the coronavirus. So there was a furious reaction when the man in charge of broadcasting that guidance was spotted in the Canary Islands, vacationing in the sun. Now, Dan Eliasson has resigned. He defended his travel.
Free Talk Live.
Sometimes you have to do things in emergencies that you don't do in normal times.
Like lock up Japanese Americans?
Look, you don't believe in the internment of the Japanese Americans?
The hell I don't. I don't believe in locking somebody up for not doing anything wrong.
Let me tell you something. There were Japanese Americans who assisted Japanese soldiers in the Hawaiian Islands at that time.
So grab all the families and throw them in a concentration camp. That's a great solution, Lou. That's something that should happen in the land of the free, right?
See, I don't even like you using the term concentration camp.
That's what they were, Lou.
Because they were not death camps. They were.
It doesn't matter if there weren't gas chambers on the premises.
They were not death camps. You see, you're using euphemism.
I call them a concentration camp. You're concentrating people all in one location, Lou.
I don't, you're giving it an implication that it does not have.
I think you should go to the Japanese Americans and ask them, Lou.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Could dropping bombs on Afghans without warning from terrifying robot airplanes that fly themselves actually hurt America's efforts to stabilize Afghanistan?
It's complicated. No, not at all. Actually, I think we need to stay the course. You don't change horses midstream, and you don't stop firing missiles from unseen death droids soaring high above the clouds just because a couple of schools get blown up.
We have got to find another way to obliterate this population.
What about flaming bulldozers or 50-foot tall tanks?
Let's do what we can for these civilians. I mean, why not name the drones Billy or Steve to make them seem less dispassionate?
That is a terrible idea. Billy is a horrible name for a drone.
They're now developing a 40-foot robot that actually looks more like an American soldier and also sprays lasers out of his eyes.
Well, at least that's a step forward.
Hey, look, as long as it fires missiles and bombs with very little accuracy and 0 Americans are at threat, I'm all for it.
Good point.
They should give it funny, floppy arms.
Yes.
Oh, it should spray candy out of its chest a few minutes before it starts shooting everything.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
Hour number 3 of the Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live is now underway, officially. I have announced it. I have spoken.
So it is written, so it shall come to pass. Quote the captain.
So quoth the captain. 603-283-6160.
Is that the telephone number?
That is the telephone number here at Free Talk Live. Again, 603-283-6160.
What were we talking about?
Oh, wow, man. We were talking about, believe it or not, deplatforming and things around deplatforming and other alternatives to the reigning giants of social media, or as I like to call them, anti-social media, because they aren't really social media, right? Particularly with, the lockdowns, the bans and gatherings, and, all that kind of stuff, and people can't.
Sometimes I just haven't had enough verbal abuse in my day, so I go on Twitter.
Read the comments on YouTube or whatever, right?
Look, if you're not breaking the terms of service, there's nothing for you to worry about.
One of you fine gentlemen brought in this article from Newsmax.com. Amazon booting Parler off its web hosting service. Now, we've mentioned this already, that this is occurring. I just wanted to, read a little bit from this article.
Well, I know you mentioned that it was getting booted off the App Store. I didn't know if you'd mentioned this part, though.
Amazon, right, we haven't yet on Free Talk Live. You and I mean, the three of us have talked about this thing, but we haven't talked about it here on the radio with our listeners. Amazon is removing the social media service from its web servers. BuzzFeed News reported Saturday night. So they just decided, Amazon that is, that, hey, those Parler people, they're paying us for this service. We don't want to provide it to them anymore. We're going to cut them off on Sunday. That's today, by the way.
Yep.
If Parler cannot find another hosting service once the ban takes effect Sunday, that's today, Parler will go offline, BuzzFeed reported. The news comes after Apple and Google Play removed the app from their stores. As a side note, an editorial commentary, I don't like Apple and Google being the gatekeepers to all things app.
I want to talk about this real quick because they're going to call censorship, and I get the Amazon part of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But Google and the App Store, the Apple App Store, is not like the only way to get Parler on device, right? If you want the Parler app on your Google Android device, there are ways to sideload the app. You don't have to go through the App Store at all. Parler is also a website. So Apple cannot keep the website off of their device, only the app.
And if people want to pay a fee,
well, I wouldn't say they can't. They haven't yet.
Hang on. If people want to pay a fee to somebody like, Richie Rich, for example, to help them sideload this app onto their device, can they do so?
You could absolutely pay me a fee. I don't know the technical aspects of it. Like Parler either has to release the app in the APK form for it to happen, or someone has to
Those are usually findable.
Yeah, that's the thing. Or they're findable. So the Apple can keep the Parler app off of the Apple App Store.
Yep.
However, the Parler website will be accessible through any browser that's available on the Apple device. I don't know of any way that they can block websites on browser devices.
Fact.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, unless you're in China.
I am not that amazing of a tech guy, but as far as I know, my Android runs a Google operating system. So if they really wanted to, they might.
But you're saying that they would have like base level access to websites?
Well, they have base level access to everything I do on my Android.
But you can sideload the app on your Android device. Like Google can't stop you from putting apps on your device if you can find the app.
I mean, if I'm on an Apple or an iPhone, an Apple or an Android, and I want to go Satan.com, for example, I can do so.
Yeah.
Right? Neither of those operating systems are preventing me from browsing to that website.
Not right now.
Okay. So going on, Amazon did not respond for comment, of course. Parler has been used increasingly by conservatives. Okay. Amid what they see as increasing censorship by Twitter. Twitter permanently banned Donald Trump, as we all know. Blah, 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 blah. Amazon has suspended Parler from its Amazon Web Services unit, AWS, for you techies out there, for violating AWS's terms of service by failing to effectively deal with a steady increase in violent content on the social networking service.
But the CIA is allowed to run on AWS.
Yeah, I'm like, well, and I'm just going to say this now because it seems appropriate, but okay, if you are a social media company of any size, shape, or form, and you want to keep violence off of your platform, if you will, then be consistent and ban all of government. All of them.
They're actively killing people right now.
All of them. Government is the most violent organization ever known in the history of planet Earth.
So you're raising a fuss that people might be talking about violence when you are actively helping people actually doing violence as long as they have a shiny badge.
Right.
Well, not just talking about it, planning it out, conspiring against the state or state actors.
Well, and part of it is we've had so much censorship now that we haven't had the opportunity to actually work through some of these ideas. Because, I mean, that's the point of free speech. Because human beings have two ways of dealing with a conflict. Either we talk it out or we fight. That's it. That's all there is. That's all we have. And if you take avenues away from us to talk it out, then we're going to fight. On the other hand, if you give us more avenues to talk about it and make it slightly more annoying to fight about something, well, then we're going to have an incentive going in the right direction, and we can have a civilization maybe.
Well, then you go back to like what we talked about earlier with the shareholder value, right? Twitter is not the free speech platform anymore, right? Facebook, whatever, never was. But if they want the platform that has like minimal amount of conflict, minimal amount of confrontation, right? Then you boot off the people whom you don't want, right? And then you have the echo chamber, as we talked about, on Twitter and Facebook, of mostly left ideals and left policies. And then Parler crops up because, hey, there's now a market demand for conservative ideas and conservative policies.
Except that you can still organize Black Lives Matter movements that, burn places down.
Like I said, they'll stay on Facebook and Twitter because they're lefty ideologies.
Right. Yeah. So it's not a matter of
removing
violence. But that's
still plenty of violence. Plenty of violence.
It's removing the violence that doesn't politically agree with you.
Right. That is a much more accurate statement. Matze said in a post on Parler responding to the Apple suspension, they claim it's due to violence on the platform. The community disagrees as we hit #1 on their store today. They said. More details about our next plans coming soon as we have many options. Matze, I assume, is the CEO of Parler. I don't know who Matze is. In addition to Parler, right-leaning social media users in the United States have flocked to messaging app Telegram. Really? They've flocked? Okay.
I have seen a lot more notifications these days of such and such is on Telegram.
And they've also flocked to hands-off social site Gab, citing the more aggressive policing of political comments on mainstream platforms such as Twitter and Facebook. Google, in its announcement Friday that it was suspending Parler, said that Parler must demonstrate, quote, robust content moderation, unquote, if it wants to get back in the store.
So I will say this about Telegram, if you're one of those people migrating over there, do it from an Android device, because on the Apple platform, Telegram is forced to moderate specific channels if they violate Apple's terms of service.
Wow.
I did not know that.
Yep. I'll show you evidence. I'll show you evidence during the break.
Okay, awesome. So, hopefully, for me anyway, my wish is that this spawns a whole bunch of new social media companies that really specialize as a feature. Hey, we're free speech. We're a free speech platform only. That is our whole reason for existence. Come and join the Free Speech Network. You can join this Free Speech Network if you dial 603-283-6160. And this is Free Talk Live. We've got more of this show coming up for you.
Freedom! Freedom is the call of the untamed Scotsman and all others that want to feel the wind under their kilts.
At Free Talk Live, we love the breezy, swinging feeling that only a kilt from Sport Kilt can give.
We teamed up with Sport Kilt to let you experience their form of freedom at a discount. Go to kilts.freetalklive.com and see a picture of Richie and me in our kilts.
And then head over to sportkilt.com. Get some stylish freedom for yourself and use code FTL for a 10% discount. Sportkilt.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by DJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone? You forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection. You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Weirdos Pressing Buttons While Speaking into Microphones. Also known as Free Talk Live. You have buttons right there in front of you. They're called cough buttons, and it's so if you have to cough or sneeze or something, you can press the button.
Press it while speaking into the microphone.
I didn't say while.
You did.
No, I said pressing buttons and speaking into the microphones.
All right.
I mean, we can listen to the archives later.
Rebrand the tape on that.
Yeah, you want to go back, back in time.
Check the LRN.FM feed on float.app.
Did I really say anything? We don't know. It's Schrodinger's radio show. If nobody's listening.
If it exists in the world, then it will be eaten by the internet.
It's being broadcast to the aliens. That much I know.
I hope they're enjoying it, too. It is Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160 is our telephone number here in the studio. If you'd like to join the conversation, we'll get to your calls and thoughts in a moment. It is myself, the captain, hosting, and joining me,
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And what were we talking about, man?
I don't know, man.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess we better go to your calls and thoughts. We have Ted calling from Kansas. Is that right, Ted?
Yes.
Awesome. You are on Free Talk Live.
I love the show, and the topic that I want to discuss is surveillance.
Okay, go ahead.
And I have about 7 items that I have with this Biden coming, what is going on in the past and with what's coming with Biden. The way that we are monitored is, the traffic light. There are cameras there. Mm-hmm. The smart meters that they put in your home put by the electric company.
Yep.
The police cars are using license plate readers to find out, they say for warrants or stolen, but they want to know who you are, especially if you own a gun. And what's coming with Biden is this real ID. That is facial recognition. He wants to implement, you cannot buy a gun unless you have real ID.
I don't know if you know this, but a lot of what you just said already
using
exists.
his authority.
Okay.
And then the internet. When you use your internet, they have a profile on what you are typing in there, and the smartphone. Everything that you put in there is monitored. I don't have a smartphone. I use an old phone, a G3.
Yep.
And then the last one is biometric. This is a number that we all will be given, and it will be a profile of who you are. Your race. Physical description, do you own a home, a car, are you a gun owner, how you vote. And will just be a number, and then they can put it all in the computer. While the cop is driving around in his car, he can see your license plate, and this guy, he owns a home, he's a felon, he's this, he's that.
Sure.
So it's just like George Orwell, The Number, 1984.
Oh, yeah, he wrote a whole book to warn us all about what's coming. And also Aldous Huxley wrote Brave New World, which is frightening in its own right when you look at today's society compared to when that book was written as well.
And that one seems more likely.
And both of them were members of socialist organizations. That's why they were in on this. This is the plan. And they tried to tell people, hey, here's this thing that we're doing in this group that I think is a bad idea.
Yeah. So, Ted, those are all very interesting things. Those are about 7 things you said, and a lot of that actually already exists.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about Biden
Yeah.
bringing that to the table.
Yeah,
it does, but it's going to be more intense now.
I don't disagree with you. The powers that be, also known as, the goons, the people in
New
charge,
World Order.
the government,
monopoly on force.
the monopoly on force, they are all going to do as much as they can to keep all of the power they've taken and get more, because they're never satisfied. They're greedy bastards. Don't get confused. They want more for them and less for you. Anything else you'd like to mention tonight, Ted?
Yeah, when I was very young, I spent summer camp. I went to it was the Marist Camp Center, Ossipee.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very nice. What does the home sell for in Keene? Like the high and the low.
Home prices?
Yeah, like home prices. Like what would it be? Like a ghetto and then a good area.
Like low end is probably still like 100,000.
Yeah.
For something that's 140 years old or so, needs some repair. High end, I mean, I've seen places for 2.8 million. So median price I think is about 250.
Yeah,
Keene is a relatively affordable place to live if you were looking to purchase.
The property taxes are pretty high though.
Right.
Oh, they are.
But on the outskirts.
Well, one of the things I like about New Hampshire, you can carry a concealed weapon without a permit.
You can carry a weapon openly without a permit, too.
Yep, you sure can.
It's one of only 16 states that you can carry concealed without a permit.
And it's part of why we have such a low crime rate.
It certainly is.
That's good.
You don't have to wear a helmet on your motorcycle or a seatbelt in your car either.
Hey, Ted, thanks for the call tonight. We appreciate it. New Hampshire does have some very specific liberty benefits to it. And in fact, I think between it and Florida, they'll rotate in like the ratings of the number 1 states where you have the most civil liberties still to this day.
I don't think Florida can maintain it, though.
No, they don't seem to be able to, and so that's why it seems to alternate.
Well, they got a huge boost off of this COVID lockdown thing, though.
Florida did?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, sure, you shot to the top during this because our governor was a complete effing tyrant.
We had and still continue to have an influx of people interested in potentially moving to New Hampshire. It seems the longer these lockdowns go on, we had folks visit from Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, other places, and they were surprised. Now, we still have businesses being closed. We still have social distancing enforced, all that kind of a thing here. But they themselves were like, "Oh, well, you guys don't have it nearly as bad as we do in our states."
And I will say this as part of the Free State Project: if you were one of these signers, like before we hit the $20,000 mark or 20,000 person mark, clock is ticking. You have a month to fulfill your obligation.
Yeah, the time to move is now. And I'm not going to hold anybody to the exact date and time of, your sign. But if you did sign,
the agreement said 5 years from the day they hit it, man. And
if you did sign, you should be a person of your word, of your signature, and make the move ASAP.
Yes.
And the oppression's getting pretty ridiculous in this country. So, I mean, it's not unthinkable that there's going to be, did you get your shots? Do you have the paperwork to prove that you have the COVID immunity and that it's updated before we can let you move out of this state?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. According to your social credit score, you are only a 2 and you need to be a 4 to enter this particular region.
See,
you're going to have to boost your social credit.
We've determined you're not biologically compatible to leave the state.
You bring up the social credit score, but libertarians, for quite a time now, have proposed the idea of a reputation ranking, and it's the same thing.
One is centralized.
Yeah, one is you're given to you by government. The other is given to you by the people that you interact with on a daily basis.
It's still a score on how your reputation is.
Yeah, but I mean, reputation already exists. You don't have to reinvent it. Social credit score, whole different ball game. 603-283-6160. More coming up.
July 25th, we adopted April. She's a purebred, orange and white Brittany. But when she started scratching like crazy, I said to John, it's got to be her food. What you put into a dog is what you get out. We heard this radio commercial, and this woman was so excited about Dinovite, DINOVITE.com. I said to John, I'm getting this. So the Dinovite comes, and I thought, a light bulb moment She loves her dog food. She always leaves a little bit in her bowl. So we added a huge scoop of Dynavite in it, and then we swished it around like gravy. She dove into that bowl. She licked it clean. She loved it. So that's been the routine. April gets Dynavite for dessert. Her coat is now soft. It's silky. Dynavite is nutrition. She even walks like a little princess.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
On Dynavite, she's Little Miss Hollywood. DINOVITE.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. It's free as in freedom, it's talk as in speaking, and it's live as in happening right now. That's right.
Listen to the podcast.
It's Free Talk Live. Unless, of course, you're listening to the podcast or the
a week from now.
It's happening for us and our callers
but
right now.
Even if you are listening to the recording, it's happening live for you right now, as opposed to whenever this was recorded. So it still applies.
Okay.
It is Free Talk Live. My name is... I was given an honorary doctorship yesterday. So
You're like Dr. Lord.
You made
Dr. Lord Reverend Captain Kickass. That's right.
No, Reverend Doctor.
No, Dr. Lord Reverend Captain Kickass Esquire, if you will.
The third.
All right.
No, the first.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
And joining me, it's
Beakless Mountaineer.
Just Richie Rich.
Just Richie Rich.
That's it. No honorary titles.
Do you have a first and a last name? Do you have a middle name? Is it also Richie?
No,
Is it Richie R.
E.
Rich?
No, it's E.
Oh, Rich E. Rich.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was first name Richie, last name Rich.
Rich, middle initial E, last name.
Oh, like Wild E. Coyote.
Exactly.
I got you. All right.
Or Doug E. Doug. Remember that guy?
No, I don't.
Oh. He's a comedian. Cool runnings.
We're going to get to your calls and thoughts here in a minute, but at first I need to thank Wild Bill from Seaville. Yes, that's right. Wild Bill from Seaville. He is a silver level amplifier. What's an amplifier, you might ask? Well, it is a big powered speaker for guitar players, but it's also a way for you to help Free Talk Live advertise, market, and promote. You can go over to amp.freetalklive.com and find out all the ways to do that. We only ask for $5 a month, and you can get some little perks for your donation. There's different levels if you donate more than $5. There's a couple different levels: silver level, gold, or silver, gold, and platinum levels, that kind of thing. But what does the money go for, you might ask? Well, it goes to fund our drug habit. No, I'm
Cocaine
kidding.
and hookers.
I'm kidding.
After the show.
It does no such thing. It actually goes only and exclusively to helping us get on more radio stations. Now, we are nationally syndicated. We're on, somewhere around 185, 190 stations or so. I'm not sure of the exact number this day, but we could be on 200. We could be on 250. We could be on 300 radio stations across the nation. It's all up to you. Please consider becoming an amplifier over at amp.freetalklive.com. All right, so we're going to put David from New Mexico on the line. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, New Mexico, the real-life land of Looney Tunes. Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner, Cactus Mesas. And another Looney Tunes character, District Attorney Raul Torres, Bernalillo County. Everybody knows Raul, loves him. But, so Dr. Demento was taken on the radio already?
What?
You're now Dr.
Well, yeah, Dr.
really
Demento supersedes Captain Kickass by quite a bit of time. In fact, Dr. Demento was probably the first real, DJ, if you will, that I recall their full name. I'm sure I heard other DJs' names prior to Dr. Demento, but as a child, 10, 11, 12 years old, I would listen to the Dr. Demento show on the Westward One radio network every Sunday night. At 10 p.m. And so I was into hilarious comedy, music, parodies, and pastiche and that type of thing long before I was into actual music.
So if you still remember, what is Dr. Demento's full name?
I don't know. It's Barrett Hansen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. Oh, Hansen. Good Scandinavian.
Yeah, he's still doing a show, by the way, and he's not paying me to say any of this, but his show is internet only now at drdemento.com.
Dr. Reginald G. Demento.
Yeah, I heard him interviewed on some radio program recently. I don't remember what it was, but anyway, I'm just here in the land of Looney Tunes, finishing up shoveling my water for the next month here, and so back to kicking DA's Raul Torres while he's down.
Yeah, didn't you have an update from your court case?
Yeah, well, what happened was it was pretty funny. It was the best court case I've ever had as far as spanking the assistant DA because I did my one. Pardon?
Sounds kinky.
Yeah, it was, and especially since the judge helped me.
It's like sex code on the play.
I did my usual.
Browsers.
I did my usual thing. What?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Okay, I did my usual thing, and interrupted them to say what I wanted to say. And one of the things I wanted to say was the DA tried to file a motion in the case, and I spanked him on the record, and I made it clear that I was spanking him on the record for purposes of appeal and for whatever it may help in the current case in the lower court there, and that is that Judge Victor Valdez, which he's actually a pretty good guy, the DA here has established in the record a pattern and practice that is demonstrable by looking at the record of filing these last-minute motions like 1 hour before hearings. Now, is that done intentionally in order to legally ambush me so that a motion is put before me in the case without me having proper notice?
I don't
so that
know.
I might actually acquiesce to their demands, requests, etc., to make them look better as a prosecutor by accepting a plea. You're rushing it, giving me an hour to think about, or an hour, or no notice to view it. You're just going to pop it on me in the hearing and hope that I take the bait instead of having a minimum of 3 calendar days or whatever the legal requirement is to proper notice in order to make my evaluation and decision.
Yeah,
so I
couldn't you
spanked him
just
on the
object
record
and ask for a continuance to give
like
you that time? I said, couldn't you just object to the duration of time you have to view that, and then get a continuance for a later date after you've had proper time to review it?
Well, I could, but it's more fun to spank them. So that's what I did. And the validation was that the judge then, after I said that, he said, yeah, prosecutor dude, you're out of line here. You need to be giving Mr. Olson proper notice to review these things. So I'm not going to entertain your motion at this time. So you can just stuff that back in your pocket. And we're going to reschedule this hearing for a week from now when Mr. Olson has had ample time, proper legal notice, and proper legal time to evaluate and make his decision as to how he would like to respond to your offer.
Yeah,
that is awesome, David. We do find your motion entertaining, and give us an update on your spanking it of the court systems.
Oh, okay.
In a week or whenever you have the next update. Thanks for the call tonight. That guy he's certainly gone through it, man. He is getting to know the legal system and all of the little tricks and turns and the twists of what I call the second set of books, right? This is what happens to you after, right? The police come and get you and arrest you or charge you with something or whatever, right? Because
that is the best way to do it. You got to go through it, and you got to learn from your victories and learn from your defeats.
He's getting firsthand experience, and who knows? Perhaps he could give, I don't know, some sort of consulting to folks who go through similar things on down the line. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. So here we are. What do we do now? I think
you got an article.
Decentralize.
I think that one's probably too long. I think that we should talk about maybe that one. No? What about this one?
I can't see.
Yeah, we can do that one briefly. Long story short, New York finally figured out that they were letting people wear bulletproof vests, and not anymore.
Oh, yeah. That was nuts.
Proposed bill bans body armor, makes possession a crime, forces citizens to turn it in or face arrest. Really? You got to turn in your body armor?
The weird thing about this setup, I'm sure you'll get to it in the article, is it was like a lawmaker who realized that they didn't have a ban on it and was like, what? They're allowed to wear body armor?
Had the same reaction as all of us. Wait, New York City, they didn't have a law against that?
And then promptly wrote the bill to try to get that ban.
Well, I mean, that sounds like a pretty swift change. Probably the fastest government has ever worked. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live for you coming up.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
There are basically 2 types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
It's the final segment. Man, time sure flies when you're having fun. Really enjoyed doing the show with you guys.
It's been a good one.
Yep.
This is Free Talk Live. If you've missed any part of this show or of any of our other shows, you can find them all at archive.freetalklive.com. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain,
Beakless Mountaineer,
and Richie Rich.
And we were talking about this headline from the Free Thought Project. Proposed bill bans body armor, makes possession a crime, forces citizens to turn it in or face arrest. This has gone on in New York City. Assembly Bill A352 was introduced and co-sponsored by David McDonough, Richard Gottfried, and Michael Montesano. And it says, a person is guilty of the unlawful purchase or possession of a body vest when he or she knowingly and unlawfully purchases or possesses a body vest. Sounds like doublespeak to me. Let's see.
You broke the law.
Penalty of law.
What law? The law.
Shall have 15 days from the effective date of this act to dispose of such body vest at any local or state law enforcement. Is this just their way of getting free body armor?
Or do you think they're short on body
Yeah.
armor?
Oh, we don't have the budget. We overspent on our tanks or whatever. Right? We don't have budget for vests, so let's make vests illegal. Make people turn them in. We get free vests.
That's how they get guns too. Then with all the gun buybacks and turn-ins and confiscations.
Yeah. Commentary includes this is a vile and wicked bill. Body armor is the most passive form of self-protection possible that a person can use. And you want to take that away from law-abiding citizens? You should be disgusted with yourselves for ever proposing such a thing, another person pointed out.
How dare these people not want to get shot when we want to shoot them?
Well, that's part of it, right? Like that's
right.
I'm sure that's what I couldn't find the article that had like the scenario that led this congressperson to like introduce this bill, but it's basically like, how dare he wear the body armor, right? And then so criminals wear
when
body
we
armor.
decide to shoot you, it is your job, your civic duty to be shot.
You are a criminal. You do not get the privilege of wearing body armor, and since guns are banned, right, for the most part in New York City, there's no reason why civilians need body armor because you're not going to get shot by a criminal on the street.
Well, and in closing, this article says, when the state attempts to make it illegal to protect yourself from bullets, it may be time to start purchasing gear to protect yourself from bullets.
Yeah, because they're going to ban the body armor, and then you can't defend yourself against state encroachment.
Yeah.
Like I think the article said like the most passive form of self-defense.
Yeah,
Right?
we just read through that. Yeah. So I wanted to spend more time talking about that, but I also wanted to get to this from the left coast. Cairo 7 Seattle has published an article that says, what happened to flu season? Doctors say flu cases are the lowest in recorded history. Now,
coronavirus cures the flu.
Now, we here on Free Talk Live have been saying the following. Something, I'm paraphrasing here, something along the lines of, all these COVID cases are just like the flu getting rebranded.
Sure.
Something along those lines, right? Doctors are going.
Yeah, a lot of times you find that in their documentation of like, well, we're not going to test you for it, but if you have these symptoms,
right,
which are all classic flu symptoms, right?
And the common cold is a coronavirus,
right?
Right. So easy to test positive for that if you have a cold.
Sure is.
Sometimes colds are severe and get mistaken for the flu, etc., and so on. But this article I found ignorantly hilarious. And it goes, while the pandemic dominates every aspect of life everywhere, doctors say something quietly remarkable is happening to another typically dangerous virus, leaving them with a question. What happened to the flu? Statistics show flu numbers are not only very low, they might be the lowest seasonal numbers in recorded history.
Because all the people that would have died of the flu have already died of coronavirus.
In the last flu season from 2019 to 2020, the CDC recorded 38 million flu cases in the United States. 405 were hospitalized and 22,000 deaths from the virus.
Tragic.
In the last several months in Washington state, there have been 0 documented cases.
Fantastic.
Of the flu.
Not one documented case of the flu in the entire state.
Washington
0.
State is the place to be.
It's not just a Puget Sound thing. It's not just Washington State. It's the entire country, said Dr. Paul Pottinger, who studies and teaches virus behavior and infectious disease at UW. That's the University of Washington. In fact, this is happening on most of our planet. Some doctors believe the low numbers could be attributed to mask wearing and staying away from people. Others theorize the benefit stems from the push to get the flu shot and the lack of international travel. Any way you cut it, doctors say there are virtually no flu cases at all this season, a phenomenon they call one of the great mysterious vanishing acts of a virus they've ever seen.
Fantastic. The lockdowns worked.
What really disturbs me about this is that it really does lead to two different worlds. So one set of people are going to believe in their heart of hearts the reason that there's no flu is because we put on masks, stayed away from each other, and didn't go see each other for Christmas or Thanksgiving. Like, they're really going to believe that in spite of the fact that it doesn't seem to have changed all of the COVID infection rates.
The doctor goes on, somehow we decided to shoo the flu, Pottinger said. I don't know that we did it on purpose. I'm not sure we can take credit for it. It's one of the great mysteries of epidemiology. Where is the influenza?
I mean, okay, so wearing gloves, wearing masks, washing your hands, staying away from people seems like an effective strategy to not get sick. I'll be honest. If that's your goal.
Okay, but going from 38 million cases to almost zero?
Yeah, seems sketchy. But, I would definitely entertain a reduction in flu cases based on modified behavior.
Well, one of these things seems to be happening to me. Either those means are very, very effective against flu and apparently completely ineffective against the coronavirus.
Right.
And that could just be the virility.
Virulence.
Virulence. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Or, what was the other one?
Or it's just getting rebranded.
Yes.
Like they're
That's
calling
definitely more likely.
They're calling the flu coronavirus, and of course you would, because okay, if you get an extra $15,000 for having someone in a hospital bed if they have coronavirus, and you're allowed to say they have coronavirus because they have these symptoms, why on earth would you not do that? I mean, do you think you could stay in business?
Right.
I mean, these hospitals are practically only allowed to treat coronavirus. They're not allowed to do scheduled surgeries. They're not allowed to do all these other screenings. They're not allowed to do any of this stuff, and they still need to pay the rent.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that if you look at the coronavirus numbers versus the flu numbers and just, imagine, if you will, use your imagination. Imagine, if you will, that the flu numbers are on average what they have been for, since the flu was discovered. And then go, how many of the corona cases is that? I bet you that they're pretty close.
Yeah, it's almost like we still have the flu, and now there's an additional virus that doesn't make much of a difference.
I'm no epidemiologist. I'm no flu expert. I'm not a corona expert. But man, something certainly smells fishy to go from 38 million cases to nil. Come on, man.
No, it's definitely fishy. But again, I could entertain a reduction based on modified behavior. Right? If you don't want to get
a reduction, sure.
Right.
Yes.
If you don't want to get a virus from somebody, you stay away from them. You wear coverings to prevent transmission.
So if that's accurate, and let's entertain that, if that's accurate, and that's why the flu is so low, how come the coronavirus cases keep climbing?
Because the virulence. One of the problems with the coronavirus from the get-go, right, was how much easier it was to transmit person to person, right? Like not everyone who comes into contact with someone with the flu is going to catch it, or they might already have immunities to it.
Same is true for corona.
But the coronavirus being novel and new, less people have built up immunities to it, and it was easier to transmit face-to-face, which is why it was made such a big deal about wearing the mask.
Well,
theoretically
hold on.
Theoretically, yes.
Hold on. Being novel and new, less people have immunities built up to it. Flu is new every year. That's why it keeps going. It mutates.
Right.
There is a new set of flu viruses. That's why they don't have a one-shot kill on the vaccines
Right.
if they work.
I get it. The vaccine, they got to get ahead of it, and then they guess wrong sometimes.
Because it's new every year. Right. It's new. It's novel.
They
every
literally
single
can't
year.
get ahead of it because it mutates every year.
Yeah.
So they use the previous year's strain in
they
the
guess.
current. Well, they guess at what it
They
might
don't
be.
use
Exactly.
the previous year's stream. They guess what mutation
Well, they
might take
they
place.
take the data on how it mutated and try and guess, as you say, to give you.
So the real question is, what viruses should we release now so we can get rid of the coronavirus?
It's a good question. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Visit freetalklive.com if you missed any part of this show or any of our other shows. Thanks. Peace.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com.